I am live here from the deck of Morse 42X, boat called Ranger, no longer in the state of Maine, but a boat I sailed on quite a bit. And this is one of my favorite shots because it's a nice shot of the cockpit and got the winch there behind me and all of that. This is Ranger. I don't know if you can see that through the glare, but those are all of our victories in the last season she sailed. We won the state championship, centerboard regatta, pilot race, lightship race, Booth Bay regatta, round Islesboro race, some races up in Southwest Harbor. So yeah, winning. Anyway, yeah. So there's this. I gotta pop this thing out here so I can do this proper. Yeah. Oh no, I can't pop the fucking thing out. That's too bad. Maybe I can do this. Yeah, let's see. I think I can actually. So, Pinecreek Doug called in to Takis, and which I was encouraging him to do. He seemed to get a little bit PO'd with the reception, and maybe was taken aback by the skepticism, I guess, that the host showed. The host, both Art and Ben, showed towards his motivations. And if Doug's listening or watches this thing, I wanted to explain, perhaps, at least from my point of view, where some of that might have come from. But anyway, let me see if I can get. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So, y'all got to tell me if I'm fucking up, by the way, because I never know.
Who's blocked here? Accidentally?
If I got the timestamp right, but anyway, I'm sort of going through the comments and.
They wanted you to act who they perceived you to be. You proved them wrong by calm dialogue. Well, no, actually, I want to commend Stephanie here, who's on that other channel talking right now, who's probably trashing me, but I
Why
don't care.
am I there?
I commend Stephanie because if it wasn't for Stephanie, I wouldn't have gone on. I'm quite sure of it. But Stephanie, on more than one occasion, has really encouraged me as a mod to call in. And so today I did. And I think they even bumped me up in the queue. I don't know that for sure.
I really didn't have anything to do with that.
I think my guess is there was people waiting longer than me and had to wait.
Just FYI, the way the shows work is the hosts run the show. Okay. So they use call-in studio, and there's a queue, and there's a list of callers that are in the queue, and the host can choose which caller they'd like to take. And given the nature of the call-in program, spicy calls are always helpful because they do what? They put eyeballs on screens, key passes in seats, and all of that good stuff. So there's that. So, Doug, you were probably bumped up in the queue because your questions, such as they were, and I believe that the call screener presented the purpose of your call as being to reach mutual understanding, right? But believe it or not, man, you have you do have a bit of a, what shall I say, notoriety. You've got 1,000 followers on your politics channel. You've got what, 15K on your regular channel, or something along those lines. I don't know. What, anyway, more than me, by the way. Like, share, subscribe, and all of that other crap. But but um, no, I encouraged you to call in because I thought the call would be good. I thought it would be. Uh, I thought that it would be good for you to engage. And I think you kind of. I think you missed something in the interaction. And perhaps you're right that you don't wish to be misperceived in the sincerity of your desire to engage. But I have some thoughts on why that perception is out there for you, especially when you engage on this particular topic. The two, especially, that you were concerned with, um, trans care for trans youth and trans people and support. Those seem to be your bugbears, and it's an interesting debate that shouldn't be, in my opinion. Anyway, let me keep rolling here. And again, I'm
Yeah, Jerome, it worked out because they did it later today for some reason. They usually start the show at 11 or 12 my time, and today it was 3.
I don't know. I haven't really looked
But if
through
you
this.
came late, I played the whole thing unedited. I stopped it a few times to talk. Will I make short clips? Will I make short clips on that? I'm just reminded of something, a short clip I could make on that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so
No, that's not what the fact that
These fools are just like, man, they're forcing their beliefs down my throat. Fucking leave town square, brother. You get to say,
yeah, I made the comment that people on the left tend on average to be a little more emotional or thin-skinned than people on the right. And look at the response. I think you're being a little hyperbolic. I do think tougher skinned, and
I'm glad
it
that
goes
I
both
didn't
ways,
know that
at
you
least
have
somewhat.
King Xerxes
But I
in there,
do
this
think
guy
that
who criticized people for presenting
people who lean
false,
right are a little more.
presenting a false image of who they actually are. And here's this guy sitting there with his 6-pack abs and they're dressed up like a Persian king, going by the name of King Xerxes, a Persian king, and he has the fucking temerity to say trans people are fake. Give me a break.
Tougher skinned, and so
no, that's not what the fact that
Anyway, I'm gonna stop it there. But actually, what I want to get at is a little bit of this.
national poll. This is not insignificant. People say, "Oh, it's only 58%." That's huge. Sports should not be allowed. Should trans women and girls should or should not be able to compete with other women and girls? 62% youth, 66 against for high school, 65% against college, 65% against professional. So there's a marketing problem here if you're a transgender activist. And by the way, it's shifting, but not in the direction the trans activist wants with these two issues. Let's see if I can find it. I think, oh yeah, here we go. American views of moral acceptability of changing one's gender. In May 2021, Morally Wrong 51, it's jumped. Like the American public is shifted in 2 years by 4 percentage points that it's morally wrong to change one's gender. So my advice is, whatever the trans activists are doing, it's not working.
All right. All right. There's a lot to unpack there. We're talking about sorting out people's ability to exist. Let's not even talk about rights, because Doug's in conversation with Doug in the past, I found that he doesn't really think that he believes that rights are conferred by society as a whole, not that they exist in some in some fundamental fashion. So I guess he's sort of taking the opinion, and I don't know. Doug, you out there? I'll send you a link. I don't know if you know how to get a hold of me, but if anybody does, I'm happy to have him on. If public opinion is shifting, Doug, why do you suppose that is? Could it have anything to do with major news publications? Particularly since about 2018, having an endless drumbeat of concern trolling the trans community with just asking questions, statements, presenting opinion, cherry picking studies that go against the widely accepted view of professional medical associations and the caring community, the healthcare community, as regards trans people, who, by the way, are 0.2% of the population. Now I say that, but 0.2% of a percent, or 0.3% of the population of the Russian Federation, which just outlawed every possible avenue of public existence as a trans person within the borders of the Russian Federation. That represents over 500,000 people. So 0.2% of the population while it's small, it's looking at 500,000 people in one nation state. 1 million people in the United States, since our population is roughly twice that of the Russian Federation. So why do you suppose attitudes towards trans people have shifted? There has been a drumbeat of activity in the press, well funded by Americans Defending Freedom, or Families, whatever the fuck they are, the Heritage Foundation, groups like that, that find the issue useful because it affects very few people, but it gets to the amygdala and stimulates fear in a vast number of people who are either uncomfortable with the topic or uncomfortable with discussing things like sex and gender, uh, and really hadn't given it a second thought until people decided to make a big freaking deal out of it. Now, folks, I transitioned. I started transitioning in 1998, and trust me, this drumbeat did not exist then. The most that trans people got um, in their actual lives, the things that I experienced throughout my life as a fairly self-aware person, I realized that I was was facing this issue at a very, very young age. And every time I expressed it, I was told to repress it, which explains why a person of my age waited so long, why so many of people of my generation waited until later in life to come out, to acknowledge the situation and to try to get some resolution. But it was a private, it was mostly a private thing that concerned myself, my medical providers, caregivers, my family, my friends, the people I work with. And it was only in 2018 when it became a matter of political, specifically Trump's Health and Human Services Department promulgated a regulation to define sex as immutable and defined observed at birth, that I thought to ask for help from my cisgender friends, who to a person said, "We have your back." And since then, it's gone on to shift and shift and shift and shift to the point where you wake up in the morning, you see another story, all focused on what should be a matter for individuals to pursue, resolve. Pardon me, I just belched. Quoting Uncle Bobby, hashtag unprofessional. Anyway, I don't understand why this is a matter for stuff. And Doug early on in his like dissection of his call, said maybe I shouldn't talk about this subject anymore. Well, you can talk about whatever the fuck you want, but it's the topic du jour, and so many people just simply bring it up. I'm not sure if they're bringing it up to, particularly in the context of a public facing media stream. It doesn't seem to me that you're bringing it up for your own personal edification, because if you were, you might actually talk to people. The problem, and this gets to what I kind of want to say about this whole thing and the interaction with Takis and interactions with me, is like, I don't want to be. And at the end of Takis, both Arden and Ben said, "We do this here." Don't want to be having to address these issues on a daily basis. We don't want to. We don't have the time. We're very busy. And that's winning. For us, winning is this. Winning is being part of this team. For me, winning is being part of this team. Winning the summer series in the J24 class, in the pictures you're seeing here. For me, winning is the 2019 World Championships in Miami and being a part of that team that finished in the top 10. The cover, the cover, the cover for this video is after finishing second in one race at that regatta. That's winning. Winning is living, Doug. And the problem we face is that in living, we're activists because our existence is being challenged in state after state after state. Some of us remember what it was like to be 3.5 and telling our parents, our moms, that we weren't who they thought we were. Some of us remember the therapy to correct our false notion. Some of us lived through a time when the medical profession was not there for us. It's not there for us today in some respects either. Your initial question about should genital reconstructive surgery, sex changes be offered teenagers betrays a fundamental misunderstanding about how that surgery is provided, if at all, and it really is, if at all, to anyone, especially anyone under the age of 18. And I noticed in Doug's comments, people were saying, oh, it happens all the time. Well, it doesn't. And if it does happen, I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen. I know of, 1 or 2 instances. It is not done casually. In order to have genital reconstructive surgery as a trans person, you need to provide a history, a documented history of treatment for gender dysphoria, and you need to have 2 letters, one from a person with a medical degree, psychiatrist, in other words, another from a practitioner in the field. You need to have 2 letters before a surgeon will touch you. That goes for anyone, 18 plus, or anyone, and especially for anyone under the age of consent at 18. And there have been cases where genital reconstructive surgery has been offered, or has been determined to be medically necessary. And in some of those cases, it is because the individuals involved had mutilated their own genitals. Or had taken other desperate measures. So when the issue is raised with 2 people or any people who have gone through that process, you have to expect, I think, or you should expect, a little bit of frustration with the attitude of people expressing that. Well, do you think it's right for children to have this treatment or that treatment? Doug, all y'all, it depends on the medical circumstances of the person involved. It does not depend on the attitude of X percentage of the American population who have been fed a steady diet of bogus information that this stuff is available, like it's bringing your automobile in to be optimized to go into the chop shop. So yeah, I mean it's a little bit difficult to sit through a reaction, and I'm sorry that people do take it this way. It's too bad, and I know it sounds bad. I'm sorry, not sorry, really. But I urge people to have a little bit more empathy for, like, here's a situation. It's very, very difficult to process for an individual who is trans to process all of this shit and to go through the process of all of this shit. Transition is not for the faint of heart. I would not have done so if it were not something I had to do for myself, to live, to be able to be here this year and win this trophy. Which gets down to the topic of trans people in sport, which I only talk about because I am a trans woman who has been in sport her entire life in the sport of sailboat racing. Sailboat racing is primarily a co-ed sport in any event. You know, there are very, very few circumstances under which, in which the classes are separated by sex or gender. One of the reasons is that sailing is an equipment-dependent sport. And there are certain body types that are good for, that are amenable to a person of a certain size, weight, build, etc., and so forth. Tall, short, skinny, light, heavy. I couldn't sail a laser radial because I'm too heavy. There are lots of women who can't sail a laser radial because they're too heavy. You know, you need to sail a laser radial effectively. You need to weigh under 145 pounds. You really do. Otherwise, you can't be competitive in that equipment. And that is the women's dinghy in the Olympic in Olympic classes. So I talk about the subject within the context of my sport, sailing. In a survey that we did for U.S. Sailing, unpublished and not peer-reviewed or anything, but because the International Olympic Committee decided to turn over the matter of determining eligibility in sport to each sporting federation, in my case, World Sailing, U.S. Sailing, in the case of track and field to World Athletics, in the case of swimming to the FINA, Fédération Internationale, for whatever the hell the rest of the French is. We had to focus on this. And the thing is in sailing, in a survey of intercollegiate athletics, anyway, we looked at scoreboard results from I think it was 2015 to 2019. 2016 2016 to 2019, put together an analysis of results, and we found that there was no advantage to having a guy on the boat. That women's teams were, teams that were two chicks, two guys, the two chicks were marginally better in events on as far as scoreboard is concerned. So it really isn't an issue. So you can say, as Doug did on Takis, that I think a really good benchmark is track and field. Well, it's maybe for track and field, but even within that, there's a great deal of work to be done, and in most circumstances, the work hasn't been done to evaluate the performance of trans women to cis women and trans men to cis men. There's always, as Doug put it, the presumption that men always will outperform women in any field of athletics. I think I'm not going to dispute that on average he's correct. However, when you're talking about, it depends on the sport that you're talking about, and it depends on the level of competition you're talking about. Because sport is athletic competition, elite athletic competition especially, is not inherently fair. A lot of factors go into it, as Arden was at pains to point out during that episode of Takis. And I think Ben practices Brazilian martial arts. He's very, very good at. So these discussions are nuanced. And I don't make, I try to stay away from blanket assertions. I try to look at peer-reviewed studies. The IOC requires in their framework of November 2021, they put out their framework of 2021, November 2021, says that if there is to be divisions on the basis of sex, one of the principles is you need to provide a demonstration of advantage. Demonstration of safety risk with peer-reviewed research. There just hasn't been. It hasn't been presented. World Athletics, in announcing their ban on trans participation in World Athletics, is basically track and field. One of the people was there saying, well, we were going to go with the science, which was kind of testosterone level based. They were considering cutting the restrictions on testosterone, on blood T, from 5 nanomoles per liter, no greater than 5 nanomoles per liter, to 2.5. But one of the people who was involved in that said, but there was no appetite to do that. And again, goes back to why? And the why is because there has been a drumbeat in public of people outraged about the notion of trans people competing on the pitch at all. Now, I don't know how to win an argument with someone who asserts that in every circumstance, regardless of the degree of medical intervention, a person with higher testosterone in their developmental years is always going to be a more perfect physical specimen than one whose body and genes and genetic expression relies on a primarily estrogen environment. And we'll make that assertion on the basis of one study or another, when the balance of research is indicative of no such thing. This early this year, I think it was early this year, maybe it was late last year. The Canadian Center for Ethics in Sport released a white paper of surveying work in the field over the course of 10 years, from 2011 to 2021, and concluded that except in the rarest of circumstances, there shouldn't be restrictions. Well, or reasonable restrictions can be introduced. In other words, that the regime that the IOC operated under from 2004 to 2020 was working. So, and I'm a person who actually has an interest because of the nature of my life, because of winning. And again, the winning for me is on the race course, is in my day-to-day life, is in the friendships I make, is in my ability to exist as a human being without prejudice, without slander, without anybody either knowing or caring my history. I mean, after transition and the awkward years of early transition and all of that stuff, and being I don't know how any of this works, with my body changing, with my having to learn how to dance all over again, and figuratively, literally, the whole program. I just, beyond that 4 or 5 years of awkwardness and stuff, I fell back into a closet with nicer clothes, and I didn't talk about this stuff until society intervened and said, we're going to take all of that away from you. And I think maybe that is what I think that maybe that's that possibly, trying to be charitable here, is possibly this is something that Doug doesn't quite grasp. Is that for all that struggle, all that trouble, all that time, you're back to where you were. No, you are the impossible girl. Only this time you're being told that by a state legislature or by the U.S. Congress or by blah, blah, blah. And I think that the problem I have with, and the reason I'm not really sure I don't trust Doug's sincerity in just asking questions is he picks those studies out. He feeds those studies to his 1,000 people on his politics channel. I don't know as he does any of this crap on his on Maine, but I mean, he's beating the drum. And that's, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. So I haven't been watching the chat. I'm bad at this crap, as I keep saying. I hope to get better, but you know, I keep working on this shit. I don't even have the effing chat open here. It's like, I don't know what's going on. Carol's here. YouTube Punk, Purple. How you guys? How you doing? Maya, how you doing? Who else is here? Astro64, welcome. Colasia, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for your support. All you guys, it's kind of heartwarming to see that people take an interest in the bullshit I spread and what I have to say, and you know, the trash talk and whatsoever. I've tried really hard not to trash talk, particularly not to trash talk Doug or anything else. But Jesus Christ, I'm tired, and I know it sounds a little bit crazy to sort of. I'm not really trying to clout chase, but it disturbs me that people with thousands and thousands of subbies are up on this tip all the effing time. And altogether too frequently forget that it's people, real lives being affected by broad generalizations as to the bullshit that trans people have to go through, the stuff that's not so bullshit, the stuff that's actually detailed, and they have very, very strange views as to what is required. I like to say that, you know, everybody's path, everybody's journey, everybody's voyage is different. There is no transgender roadmap. There's no common path. Medical community has standardized a common approach to treatment, as they do in every condition. To be surprised at that is surprising to me. And the pathological interest that op-ed writers for the New York Times, article writers for the Atlantic take in trans lives and trans people, and treat it as some kind of social crisis, is disturbing. It's just disturbing. That's what I got for you today. I hope that some of it made sense. I hope that I'd say it's Saturday. Go out, have some fun. It's hot in Maine. Somebody somewhere is sailing. It ain't me. I got other stuff going on, but I look forward to getting out on the water and and sail on Tuesday on Etchells and Wednesday in J24s. And both of my teams are currently doing very, very well. As a close, I just want to say that it's a tremendous gift for me at the tender age of 69 to still be able to do that, to still be able to actively do that and do it at a high level and do it well and be among friends and learn every time I go sailing. And grow and live. And I'm profoundly sad that whatever percentages Doug cited. Get this guy off my screen. I forgot he was even up there. Get out of here. I'm sad that it's become an issue. I would very, very, very gladly go back to pre-2018 me and just live. So there. Thanks for coming. Like, subscribe, etc., and so forth. Links are in the description if you want to support me, support the channel. I'd really appreciate it. This shit can get time consuming and expensive. I try to do my best. Some of you know I had to get a new computer because my old one died, so I'm sort of doing all this stuff on an absolute shoestring, and every now and again I trip over my shoes. So anyway, any support, any help you can give, I appreciate it. I appreciate you all, and have a great weekend. Oh, by the way, coming up this afternoon at 4:30 my time. I think it's 4:30 my time. On Skeptic Haven is Women Atheists Unload. I'll be on a panel there talking about misogyny, which is a thing. You want an example of it? Watch that Xerxes thing with Oh, by the way, that's the last thing is I'm just not pretty enough. See you guys later. Bye.